We know the NBA story for most players in the league, Steph Curry going from exciting young player to NBA MVP, Derrick Rose being drafted by the Bulls, then being selected as MVP. But what about their stories when they were in high school, before the money and worldwide fame? Die-hard NBA fans that finish this video might know the high school story and background for every player I talk about in this video. It won't be news for some of you. For others, one player's story might be new to you, so let's talk about some players in high school when they were growing as a player and trying to get recruited by Division I scouts. There might be a few guys on here that I do not talk about in this video, so if you think I should have had someone else on here who had a more interesting high school story, let me know. So let's get into some highlights and NBA players' high school stories. Derrick Rose learned how to play the game of basketball from his three brothers, Dwayne, Reggie, and Allen. His brothers mentored and advised him for literally everything, from the recruiting process, and they even formed their own AAU team called Mean Street Express to coach him. But he did not play on the varsity team as a freshman because the coach at the time had a rule that said freshmen could not play on the varsity level and had to play junior varsity first. That coach also had a rule that players were not allowed to speak to the media until they were in their junior season. His first year playing on Simeon varsity got college coaches even more excited about him. Rose averaged 19 points and 8 assists, and the team won 30 games and only lost 5. He kept up that momentum into his junior year. Simeon won 33 games and won the state championship by a game-winning shot by Rose. He went by his defender with his left hand and made a tough right-handed floater to give Simeon its first state title since 1984. His senior year was even better. Rose averaged 25 points, grabbed 9 rebounds, and dished out 8 assists. Simeon finished 33-2 and won another state title. With that championship as a senior, Simeon Academy became the first Chicago Public League school to win back-to-back titles. Rose was selected as first-team All-American by all the major media sites, named Mr. Basketball in Illinois, and named the third best point guard of the decade by ESPN. Rose got college offers from Illinois, Kansas, and Kentucky, but decided on Memphis. Let's talk about another Chicago high school player, Anthony Davis. When AD was running point guard for Perspectives Charter School in Chicago as a freshman, he was not getting any national attention at all because the school is more known for its academic background, not basketball. The school only had about 200 students total, they didn't have a gymnasium, and they played soft competition in the Chicago Public League. He was 6'2" at the beginning of his sophomore season, growing up to 6'4" at the end of that school year. It wasn't until his junior season, where he grew up to 6'7" and played for the Mean Streets AAU basketball team, that he began to get nationwide attention. Kentucky, North Carolina, Ohio State, and Syracuse began to recruit him and offered him scholarships. After that huge growth spurt and dominance with the AAU team, ESPN and Scout.com had him ranked the #1 high school prospect in the nation. Only Rivals.com had him ranked second, and they had Austin Rivers ranked #1. Going into the start of his senior season, he was finally being taken seriously as a player and was put on a Chicago newspaper's top players list and a first-team All-State preseason pick. But Davis dealt with a lot of injuries, he missed some games, and the team finished with a 6-19 record. Davis still dominated individually though, with dribbling skills in transition, dunks, and blocks, and grabbing rebounds over the entire team's head with ease. He averaged 32 points and 18 rebounds in his senior year. Davis went from an unknown 6'2" point guard in his freshman year to a 6'10" power forward in his senior year with guard-like skills that can move anywhere on the court defensively to make a play, and then was recruited by virtually every major program in the country. Kevin Durant was the second-ranked high school prospect behind Greg Oden back in 2006. KD played at 3 different spots in high school, 2 seasons at National Christian Academy, and then went on to play at Oak Hill Academy in Virginia, where guys like Carmelo Anthony and Rondo played at. Durant said he left for Oak Hill because he wanted to get that exposure. Oak Hill played in the biggest tournaments, played the best high school competition, and had some of their games televised on ESPN. For Durant's senior season, he transferred to Montrose Christian and averaged 23 points per game and grabbed 10 boards in his senior year. He was named to first-team All-American by the USA Today and the MVP of the 2006 McDonald's All-American game. Durant received a bunch of offers from big-time schools. Ty Lawson tried to convince him to play with him at North Carolina, but Durant ultimately decided on Texas before the start of his senior year. As a high school freshman, Steph Curry was 5'7", 130 pounds. At Charlotte Christian High School, he was all-conference, all-state, and led his team to 3 conference titles in the 3 years he played varsity basketball. He played junior varsity as a freshman in high school because at 5'7", 130 pounds, he thought his size would be an issue at the varsity level, and not trying out for varsity was one of Curry's regrets. It taught him that no matter how short or how skinny you might be, never let it stop you from getting where you want to go. Curry has worn the number 30 throughout college and his NBA career, but wore 20 in high school for a funny reason. When he was talking to kids at his old high school, Curry said he wore number 20 at Charlotte Christian because he wasn't bulky enough to fit in the school's extra large number 30 jersey. And because he wasn't big enough, he wasn't recruited by the major college schools. Steph wanted to play at Virginia Tech because that's where his dad Dell played at, but they only offered him a walk-on spot. He was offered full athletic scholarships to Winthrop University, VCU, and Davidson College, and decided on Davidson. Carmelo Anthony would play his first 3 years of high school basketball at Towson Catholic High School in Baltimore. As a 14-year-old, he started out as a point guard, but he was average in height and did not stand out physically. Before his sophomore season, where he had a growth spurt, he was now 6'5" and became an even better jump shooter and dribbler. That sophomore year, his summer work paid off, and his averages went up to 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. His high school won 26 games and only lost 3. Melo was even more dominant in his junior year, bumping his averages up to 23 points and 10 rebounds. Melo racked up a bunch of individual awards, including Baltimore County Player of the Year. After that dominant junior season, colleges started calling, including North Carolina and Syracuse. Instead of playing out his final year at Towson Catholic, Melo felt he was good enough to play Division I college basketball as a 17-year-old and wanted to attend Syracuse before he even finished high school. But Melo's high school grades were below a C average, and his ACT score was too low to meet Syracuse's academic standards, so he had to stay in high school another year to qualify. Melo and his family talked about a number of schools he could transfer to. They eventually decided on Oak Hill Academy for his senior year. At Oak Hill, Melo averaged 21 points and 8 rebounds and was named first-team All-American by some media sites. Oak Hill only lost 1 game that year. They beat LeBron's high school team and won 2 major high school tournaments. Carmelo eventually got a score high enough on the ACT to get to Syracuse, and the rest is history. The LeBron high school story is pretty well known among most basketball fans, so I'll give a short recap. His ability to make shots and create shots for others, combined with his height, weight, and athleticism at such a young age, made him wanted by every college and NBA team in the country. He was on the cover of Slam magazine as a junior and named the best high school player in the country. He won 3 state championships at St. Vincent St. Mary, going back-to-back in his freshman and sophomore years, then closing out his senior year with a state title. He also played wide receiver for his high school and was getting recruited by Notre Dame. Months after winning his 3rd state title, he would go on to be selected 1st overall by the Cavs, and you know the rest of the story. Damian Lillard played for a couple of high schools in the Bay Area. One was St. Joseph Notre Dame, where Jason Kidd played his high school basketball, and in his final 2 seasons, Dame transferred to Oakland High School. I talked a lot about this in a previous video. Lillard was not a top prospect going into his senior year. No big schools are looking at him to be their point guard. The only Division I schools that were really looking at him were San Diego State and Weber State. He came out of high school as a 2-star prospect by scouting sites. Dame was the 48th ranked point guard in his class on ESPNU rankings. He scored 22 points per game and dished out 5 assists in his senior year at Oakland High School. He ended up deciding on playing at Weber State University, a mid-major school in Utah where he played all 4 years. So just to recap, we had Derrick Rose, who won 2 state titles, Anthony Davis, who had one of the craziest growth spurts ever, Kevin Durant, who went to Oak Hill to get nationwide exposure, Steph Curry, who couldn't even fit in his extra large jersey that his high school provided, Carmelo Anthony, who also went to Oak Hill and tried going to Syracuse before he graduated, LeBron, who was hyped since his freshman year of high school, and finally Damian Lillard, who proved a lot of people wrong to get to where he's at. I almost had Vince Carter and Allen Iverson on here, if you were wondering. Shout out to everybody who has subscribed in the past week and everyone who was here before that. We passed 10K subscribers. Let's see where we can get at by the time the NBA Finals are over. That's it for me. NBA players who played in high school. Just wanted to make a video about a few players on here. Again, I know there were some players I left off that some of you may have been expecting. So if you think I did, let me know who I should have had on here. Again, as always, if you made it this far to the video, leave a like. It takes a second and helps my channel grow. I'll see you guys on my next upload.